For nearly a century, Pluto has been the forgotten world, banished from the family of planets, drifting on the edge of our solar system like an icy ghost. But when the James Webb Space Telescope turned its gaze toward this frozen enigma, something unexpected shimmered back. The data was quietly logged, analyzed, and classified. Now, months later, a series of declassified images have surfaced, and what they show defies everything we thought we knew. Beneath its pale, silent surface, patterns emerge, structures that look too precise, too deliberate. Strange plumes of energy, unexplained heat signatures, signals that whisper of motion where no life should move. What did Webb really capture in the cold shadow of Pluto? And why were these findings hidden from the public for so long? Tonight, we peel back the veil and follow the trail of the most forbidden images ever taken of our solar system's most mysterious world. In the distant reaches of our solar system drifts a frozen wanderer, small, silent, and exiled. Once celebrated as the ninth planet, Pluto was humanity's last frontier, until the day it was stripped of its crown. In 2006, a committee's vote reduced it to a dwarf, and with a single word, Pluto was banished from the planetary family it had known for generations. Yet even in its solitude, Pluto refused to vanish. Against the endless dark, its faint glimmer still whispered of mystery. A world too complex, too alive, to be forgotten. Astronomers couldn't look away. It wasn't just nostalgia that drew them back, but a sense of unfinished business. As if Pluto itself was guarding something, waiting to be rediscovered. We remember its discovery in 1930, a dim speck that defied expectation, and the heartbreak of its fall from grace. But through it all, one truth persisted. Every exile carries a secret. When NASA's New Horizons spacecraft finally touched its shadow in 2015, we glimpsed mountains of frozen nitrogen, glaciers that seemed to flow like ghosts, and a heart-shaped plain that looked almost deliberate, as if the planet was trying to speak. Years later, as New Horizons faded into memory, a new eye turned toward Pluto, sharper, colder, and infinitely more powerful. The James Webb Space Telescope locked onto the outcast world for the first time, and within its first spectral readings, something flickered. When the James Webb Space Telescope turned its golden mirrors toward Pluto, no one expected more than static beauty, the cold poetry of a frozen world. But what came back was wrong. In the deep red glow of infrared, Webb revealed warmth where there should be deathly silence. Pockets of energy pulsing beneath the ice. A flicker, then another. Patterns emerging from the void. At first, analysts thought it was noise, sensor drift, digital ghosts. But the pulses repeated with mathematical precision. Every 6 hours, a faint shimmer rippled across Pluto's heart-shaped plain, like a heartbeat frozen in time. The more they studied, the less sense it made. The ice was supposed to be inert, locked for billions of years, yet something beneath was alive with motion. When the internal data logs reached NASA's review board, a quiet decision was made. The files were sealed, access restricted. Publicly, Webb's Pluto scans were described as routine calibration. Privately, they were labeled sensitive anomaly data. But whispers began to leak, from technicians, from scientists who'd seen too much. "It's not noise," one of them said. "It's repeating. It's responding." Deep beneath Pluto's frozen plains, the data whispered of something impossible. When scientists ran Webb's infrared readings through spectrographic reconstruction, faint echoes appeared, layers stacked like sediment, but far too regular, far too warm. At first, they thought it was an artifact, a glitch in the imaging algorithm. But as the scans deepened, the pattern grew sharper. An underground network of chambers, possibly liquid, pulsating with hidden heat. Pluto was never supposed to hold warmth. Its radioactive decay could not explain this persistence, this vitality, this resistance to silence. In the darkness below, something was defying the cold. Analysts rendered simulations. Slow pans through endless caverns glimmering beneath sheets of methane ice, walls etched with geometric ridges that formed precise, repeating shapes, triangles, arcs, intersections, like the blueprint of a design. One researcher stared at the data and whispered, "That's not geology. As geophysicists argued over natural versus artificial origins, the tone in the control room shifted. All bled into dread. The question was no longer what the Webb had seen, but who or what might have left these marks behind. The chapter closes in stillness. A NASA analyst sits frozen before the monitor, replaying a cross-section image again and again. Beneath Pluto's ice, amid the static, something flickers. A pattern unmistakably deliberate. It began with a single upload, a folder of grainy, pixelated images marked JWST declassified. The source claimed to be a former Webb contractor, a quiet technician who'd seen too much. Within hours, the files spread like wildfire across encrypted forums and dark data archives. The images were haunting, a black horizon fractured by faint streaks of light, symmetrical shapes carved into the ice, too perfect to be natural, too distorted to be trusted. In one frame, a ghostly reflection glowed against the void, its edges pulsing as though alive. Analysts called it compression noise. Others called it contact. Newsrooms erupted. Journalists debated authenticity while scientists demanded context. NASA remained silent, their servers locked down, their statements cold and procedural. But for the public, silence only meant one thing: confirmation. Online, theories multiplied. Some saw alien architecture. Others whispered about secret experiments, hidden energy sources, even a listening post built long before humanity's birth. And then one image broke the cycle of speculation. A long exposure shot showing a heat signature in motion, arcing across Pluto's frozen horizon like a glowing ember dragged through night. At first, it seemed like background noise, the kind of static that hums beneath all data from deep space. But when technicians isolated the signal and slowed it down, a pattern emerged, deliberate, rhythmic, almost musical. Every pulse mirrored the last, each one arriving at precise intervals, echoing through multiple instruments. It wasn't random. It was structured. Scientists searched for explanations. Could it be geological resonance, Pluto's crust flexing under distant gravitational tides? Or was it something stranger, a message etched into the frost by forces we do not yet understand? The data rippled through laboratories, through late-night calls between physicists who could no longer sleep. One specialist whispered, "It sounds like it's responding." In the playback room, the pulse throbbed through the speakers, slow, patient, and impossibly constant. Some said it was a reflection of cosmic radiation, an echo from the early solar system. Others claimed it was a transmission, the first hint that Pluto wasn't a silent world, but a listening one. Then, one night during a routine synchronization test, the live feed froze. The team's console flickered, the waveform split, and the final transmission log, the one that should have ended in data, cut off mid-sequence. In its place, a hiss of static followed by a single word on the monitor. Classified. After the leak, silence. No press conferences. No briefings. Just the quiet hum of bureaucratic restraint. NASA issued a statement. Vague, polished, carefully worded, calling the images inconclusive. The networks moved on. The story dissolved into the static of the next scandal, the next distraction. But inside research labs and private calls between scientists, something had changed. They all knew. The data was real, and it didn't fit within what we understand. For months, the James Webb Telescope continued its work, but Pluto was no longer on the schedule. It was as if the world had collectively agreed to look away. The icy outcast slipped back into its orbit, silent, patient, and unknowable. Yet those who had seen the images could no longer think of it as lifeless. Beneath that frostbitten shell, they felt a presence, or perhaps a persistence. Now, as we gaze once more into the distant dark, Pluto drifts across the edge of sunlight. Not dead, not forgotten, but waiting. Maybe it was never a planet. Maybe it was something else entirely, a witness, a vault, a signal older than our species. And as the last line fades into the quiet, one question lingers in the void. If we've already seen signs of something stirring beneath Pluto's ice, what else have we mistaken for lifeless stone in the dark?